Good evening. You guys got it on first try. Congratulations. We greet you in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred in the warm and loving energy of this ministry, Spiritual Life Center. And if you're here for the very first time, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. We are all here by divine appointment, and we're just absolutely thrilled to see everyone here tonight. And Day, would you please lead us in our opening prayer?
Sure will. So I was blessed today at work to experience and bask in the beautiful uniqueness that each and every one of us has here on earth. And I'm somewhat in gratitude at being exposed to such variety of human expression. So I ask us tonight to take a breath into ourselves, into that unique space that we all have, letting us become aware of spirit as it shows up for us by whatever name that it shows up. And just breathe into that, appreciating our uniqueness, our specialness. And then I ask for us to open up to the commonality that we all have, the connection we have with ourselves, with each other, with Mother Gaia, with the plants and animals and rocks and crystals. And just appreciate for a moment how special it is to be here on this planet, and how special that journey is as we learn to connect the divine with our cellular biology and that unique expression that we call our soul. And knowing that all is great, all is wonderful, all is possible. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Day. Next week, we have, the Afro-Caribbean drumming with Dominic Garcia. And we have some drums, but if you have your own drum, bring it. And then for those people who prefer a little bit quieter event, I hold a discussion group over in the chapel at the same time from 7 to 8, and of course soup is at 6. And the other thing that we're doing next Wednesday at 5 o'clock is we have a wonderful team of people who are doing our soup and salad, and I believe that you experienced some wonderful soup tonight, and thank you for that. But we're always looking to add to our team, and so next Wednesday, November 1st at 5 o'clock, we're going to be meeting to talk about plans for the next year. And so if you think this might be something you want to do, you're welcome to join us. We would love to have some more people join that team. So thank you very much for that. And the chaplains have a healing circle next door after this service. So if you want to continue the wonderful energy, step next door when we're done. Paula Mandela is one of the reasons that this program is so successful. She's been mentoring me, although she didn't know it. And I don't know that I could have done the last year and a half without her. And she is responsible for bringing Dr. Gaitonde. And so, Paula, will you please introduce her?
My pleasure. Good evening. So it is my profound pleasure to introduce Dr. Rajshree Gaitonde this evening. I met her through Anne Roach and her work in music and memory, and it's been a wonderful journey. It's so nice to have Dr. Gaitonde back today, and she's going to speak tonight in the first of two talks on the chakra system as an energy matrix of the human being, and followed up in January, continuing the talk with some knowledge about the gemstones, foods, and musical tones that will help us to balance our chakras. So I want you to know that she has completed a long-awaited book. She's very excited about it. It's supposed to come out. It will come out in January. And there are some sign-up sheets going around that if you'd like to, afterwards, there is a sign-up sheet. If you'd like to receive an invitation to her book signing event on the 20th of January, she would be delighted to send you an invitation. And I will let her tell you more about her book and her beautiful work. So please welcome Dr. Rajshree Gaitonde. Oops, that was a kiss in the mic.
Okay. Thank you, all of you, for welcoming me into this Spiritual Life Center and for this talk. And I'm delighted to be here with all of you. I'm so happy to see a very good audience here for the talk. That makes me feel so good and fills me with a lot of humility that so many of you have come to listen to it. So I'm going to be giving this talk, The Chakras, the Energy Matrix of Man. And as Paula mentioned, I'm going to divide it into 2 sections. So today I'm going to give you a basic idea of what the energy matrix of man is. Why is it so important? Why is there a physician who is so multi-specialized standing in front of you and talking to you about a mystical subject? And why am I able to stand not only in front of you, but also in front of all the physicians who practice allopathic medicine, who say this is all quack, and I'm saying, no, it's not. And I'm telling them that there's a lot of truth in what our ancient rishis have talked about. And so I am finally able to convince them. I happen to be an attorney also, so I think that makes a difference. So I think my fellow physicians are pretty okay in listening to me, but more than the physicians, you are the people that I'm talking, who I love, and who I want passionately to educate. At the end of this talk, I will talk to you more about my baby that has taken a very long time to be born, but I will talk to you about it at the end of the class. So now, 2012, per the Mayan calendar, was a new era awakening. I really don't know what they envisioned. I think they said things were going to be changing so astronomically in the universe, but when we listen to the thinkers and the philosophers, we will understand that there is a new awakening. People have opened their hearts and minds to listen to subjects like the chakra and the energy matrix of man. That's why all of you are here, sitting and listening to me. So that's the change that has happened. I have been invited for so many concerts, for so many talks since 2012, because people are more and more interested in listening to what I have to say. So now, coming to the energy matrix of man, what does the word chakra mean? The chakra word in Sanskrit literally means a disc, a wheel. So these spinning vortices of energy form part of the subtle energy system of man, which is the basis of all ancient healing techniques of the physical, physiological, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of man. So each one of these chakras form a blueprint for the material body. Is there an architect in the crowd? No, okay. The reason why I said blueprint is because I'm married to an architect and I see a lot of blueprints. And you know, the most beautiful blueprint or the structure that I've seen is the beautiful hospital that is designed in Cochin, which is known as the Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences. It is shaped like a lotus flower. It is so beautiful. So now he shows me the blueprints that really don't look good. And he says, you should come and do you know how pretty the structure will be? And I say, no, I cannot imagine the structure because when I look at the blueprint, it doesn't look so good. So now, 1 year after I see the blueprint, I really go to India to look at this hospital. I stand there and I cry my heart out because it's a palace that's standing in front of me, shaped like a lotus flower. And I said, oh my God. He said to me, remember, the blueprint does not resemble the physical structure, but without the blueprint, there is no physical structure. So, The energy matrix of man, the chakras, is our blueprint. Sure, it doesn't look like this body, but without that energy matrix, there is no body. So I want you people to understand that very, very clearly. So now these chakras are represented as flowers, traditionally lotus flowers that resonate at various frequencies corresponding to the colors of the rainbow. So when I talk about the individual chakras, I will tell you the colors as I keep going up. So these individual lotus flowers have little stems, and they get embedded into the subtle equivalent of the spinal cord known as the Sushumna. I'm going to give you some Sanskrit words. I would like for you to remember these words. They are important, okay? So this is the subtle equivalent of the spinal cord, and traditionally Vedic literature has 7 major chakras extending from the crown to the coccyx, and these chakras form the basis of healing of our physical, physiological, emotional, and spiritual bodies. So now I'm going to ask you this question. Why is it we are talking about the energy matrix right now? We are talking about it because traditional Western allopathic medicine doesn't really have all the answers. It's not able to explain all the facets of human disease. So we have to even look at the definition of a human being. When I went to medical school, yes, I went in the spiritual heart of the world, which I call India. But even there in medical school, we could not use the word healing, and we were not taught anything about the chakras. The human being was, the way I was taught in medical school, is a machine divided into 2 distinct parts, body and mind. And this body has several parts, and we have to learn about all these different parts. Then, after the years started pouring in, they began to say, no, the mind is very important, and the mind creates this physical body. So the mind is the builder, the body is the result. So there is a mind-body connection. And now, the latest field of medicine, which is known as integrated holistic medicine or energy medicine or vibrionic medicine, defines the human being exactly like how our Vedic rishis defined him. The human being is a divine spirit having a human experience and is invested with 5 different sheaths. The first is the food sheath, which is known as the Annamaya Kosha. You don't have to remember the Sanskrit terms. I'm telling it for those people who are right here. You know, I know there are several of them who understand the Sanskrit. Okay, that's the food sheath. The second sheath is the energy sheath, the physiological sheath, which is known as the Pranamaya Kosha, most important sheath in man. Without that, nothing functions. The third sheath is a mental sheath, our mental space. The fourth is the intellectual space, because that helps us define right and wrong and stuff. And the final one is the spiritual sheath or the bliss sheath that we call the Anandamaya Kosha, which is once you penetrate that sheath, then you are self-realized, you are self-actualized. And where is that picture? There is the picture. This was my imagination. I just imagined the goddess within me awakening, and how will it be when I become the goddess, you know, as a fully self-realized, self-actualized soul. So this was an image that came to me in a vision, and I had one of my dear friends called Shanti draw that for me. So after my talk is over, you people can come up and look at that. It is just so beautiful. She's done such a fantastic job on it. So now, I'm talking about integrated holistic medicine. So what is it? So integrated holistic medicine is the new emerging field of medicine. It is known as the science of living, the science of connection. For those of you who go to Vedanta, it's known as practical Vedanta. So what is it? It comprises Eastern spiritual wisdom, numerous complementary alternative methods like Ayurveda, Feng Shui, acupuncture, yoga, hatha yoga, pranayama, light therapy, electromagnetic therapy, music therapy, which is my passion, music and healing, and finally, Western allopathic medicine. So what is the philosophy of this? Food is information. Thought translates into biology. The best intervention is prevention, and health is more than an absence of disease. I really want you people to think about what I just taught. And integrated holistic medicine focuses on health. It focuses on joy. It doesn't focus on disease. Western allopathic medicine is a disease-oriented system. That's how we learn. Whereas integrated holistic medicine is a wellness system. It's a system for health. It's a system for joy. When you go to see a doctor, what does your doctor say? Tell me your problem. That's the first question that's asked of you. Or what's wrong with you? Does your doctor ever ask, are you happy? Does your doctor ever say, do you have peace of mind? Does your doctor ever say, I will give you some tips to be a little bit joyful? No, because I have also done the same thing. So I am also guilty like everybody else. What's your problem? Let me take care of you. And that's how it is. But I guess in the last few years, I would have to say, I have changed the way I treat my patients. And I hope and I believe that it is for the better. So now, I'm going to give you a definition for healing, for curing, and for optimal health. So, healing is different from curing. I hope you people know that. We physicians will never tell you we will heal you. We will only tell you we will cure you. And the curing only takes place at the physical material level, nowhere else. That's why I cured Sandra of a cold, and then within a month she comes back to me and says, Doctor, I got the cold back again. Well, then I'm curing her a second time. But I have not healed her, because she and I both have not communicated to each other what healing is. This is the definition of healing. So, healing will only take place in the human body when all these sheets that I have described to you, the physical, physiological, mental, emotional, and spiritual sheets are in balance. If they are not in balance, there will be no healing. And when healing takes place, it's absolute. It does not come back. It is absolute. You are healed. You will not get that problem back again. So now, there is another definition that I want to tell you people, and that is optimal health. What is the goal of integrated holistic medicine is optimal health. So optimal health is the conscious pursuit of the highest levels of functioning and balance of the physical, physiological, mental, emotional, and spiritual sheets of man, resulting in a dynamic state of being fully alive. Just because you exist doesn't mean you're fully alive. And so what happens at the physical level? You have so much of energy. At the emotional level, so much of self-esteem. At the mental level, peace of mind. At the social level, you can be intimate with someone else. And at the spiritual level, you have that infinite, intense connection with the source within. And I will be using the word Deva. For those of you who don't know the meaning of the word Deva, it's a Sanskrit term which literally means the source, the being of light and love. So that is Deva. That name was given to me by my mom probably when I was in her womb, because she has always been praying to her Deva, to her Guru. And so I came out using the word. I have a career in Folsom Prison as its first female physician, and those inmates would tell me, Doctor, please tell Deva to get us well. So I would tell them, why don't you pray to Deva? No, Doc, he listens to you. So now I'm going to go to the chakras. So before I talk about each chakra, I'm not going to tell you stuffs about the chakra that you can find on the internet. I'm only going to talk to you about the chakras and the specific endocrine glands associated with the chakra. And you know why? Why am I so interested in the endocrine glands? Because the field of endocrinology is the most powerful, important field in medicine. Endocrinology does all your physical functions. It's responsible for growth, metabolism, anabolism, catabolism, nutrition, metabolism of carbohydrate, protein, and fat, for all your cardiovascular functions, like the pulse rate, the blood pressure, the heart rate, for your respiratory function, for all the GI functions, for your skin, for your hair. There is not, for the renal function, for the electrolyte imbalance, for the internal milieu that we call within the body that is so delicately balanced that we function. So everything is possible only because of the endocrine glands. The endocrine glands are ductless. They do not have ducts. And they create a magical substance called hormones. And these magical substance produces everything in the human body that we function. And these magical substances can be tranquilizers. They can take you into transcendental states if you know correctly how to meditate or to sing. And they are responsible for all the lower functions also. So that's the reason why when I was in medical school, and it's current even today, if you know endocrinology, you will be a brilliant physician. And so endocrinology is a very important field. And I think for me personally, my professor of endocrinology was a beautiful, young, bright, bold lady doctor. My God, it was so refreshing for us to have her. And she is the first one who introduced the term chakra to me. She had done her PhD, I'm talking long time back. The dissertation was the 7 chakras and the 7 endocrine glands. So imagine, in those days, she did it. And she told me, Rajshree, you will someday come to understand what I'm talking about. But you know, right then when I was in medical school, I certainly wanted her to be proud of me. So I went all out and I broke every university record from University of Madras, and I got not only a first class, but a distinction in physiology, and that nobody has even to date broken that. So she was very, very proud of me, and I wanted her to be proud of me because she was such a brilliant teacher for us. So now I'm going to take the first chakra. Okay. The first chakra is known as Mooladhara. Moola in Sanskrit means base or root. Dhara means support. The Mooladhara chakra, the color is red. It is located at the base of the spine between the rectum and the genital organs. This chakra is the center for safety, security, and stability. It is your grounding chakra. It is responsible for the structure, the anatomy, and the musculoskeletal structure of this human body. This chakra is so important that there is a beautiful book written by Sir David Hawkins known as Maps of Consciousness. And in that he says almost 80% of the world population function below the Mooladhara because they don't have the safety, they don't have the security, and they don't have stability. So we are lucky we are in a place where we have all these things. So what is the endocrine gland associated with this chakra? It's known as the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is a triangular gland located on top of the kidney. We have 2. It weighs anywhere between 5 to 10 grams. It's divided into 2 sections, the cortex and the medulla, and it secretes 2 important hormones known as aldosterone and adrenaline. Is there anybody here who has asthma? Okay. So for patients who have had asthma, and I hope that you have not had acute attacks, but if you have an acute attack and go to the emergency room, the first thing that they will do is they'll hook you up to that Alipent, the inhaler, but they will also give you 2 shots. One will be adrenaline and the second will be a steroid shot, because they have to bring that adrenal gland back into function because it's not working properly. And that's why you're having the asthma attack. So this is the gland that produces the hormone of fear, flight, or fright. And so you have to understand, fear is, I keep saying that fear is not a good thing and it limits us, but actually in evolution, fear is very important. You don't want to go to anything that's dangerous and it's going to kill you and eat you up and stuff like that. So the response of fear, flight, or fright is very important. So when I'm talking about the chakras, I will show you how I'm going up the Maslow's law of hierarchy. So this is the most important grounding chakra. It represents the element earth and the sense smell. Just hear it for now, and the next class you'll understand why I said this to you people. Okay? So now, if you don't have a properly functioning Muladhara, the adrenal gland is not going to be functioning properly. If the adrenal gland is not functioning properly, your musculoskeletal system is not going to be working properly. So you know, if the structure is not okay, how are the organs and everything else going to be okay? So it's important. The second gland, as we approach, the second gland, the second chakra. The second chakra in Sanskrit is known as Swadhisthana. That literally translates to taste. And this is in the color orange. It is located between the navel and the external genital organs, and also the organs in the pelvic cavity. So what does this chakra represent? It represents creativity, sensuality, sexuality, pleasure, thirst, desire, and creativity, not just at the physical level, but also at the mental level, where you have all these beautiful creative ideas. So, what are the endocrine glands associated with this? It is the sex glands, which is the ovaries and the testes, and the hormones produced are the androgens, the estrogens, the progesterone, the follicle-stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone, etc. These give you your sexual characteristics of being a male and a female. They're helpful for pregnancy, and when we have problems with this gland, you have problems with sexual function, with impotency, with sterility, and also the pelvic organs that are within the pelvic cavity are also affected. I'm not going to go into much detail about the diseases that are produced by this, because that will go on and on. It's a very long medical lecture if I go into the diseases, okay? So I just want to give you the most important points that I want you people to remember. And once you know it, then you'll be able to know when I say we have to use this to balance the chakra, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Remember the color orange. So the next chakra, the third chakra, is known as the Manipura chakra. Manipura in Sanskrit literally translates to the lustrous gem. This is a very important chakra. This is located in the navel area or the umbilicus area. Now, this is the center of your ego. Now, when I'm using the word ego, I'm using it in a very good sense. I'm not calling it arrogance or show off. I'm using the word ego in a very good sense. You really have to have a healthy ego if you want to succeed, if you want to be a leader. So this is the center of your personal power. It is the center of your social identity. It is the center of your self-confidence. It is the center of willpower. It is the center of strength, your radiance, your expansion, what you can accomplish in this world. If that is not functioning, you can't do anything. All the leaders have a very, very powerful Manipura chakra, and their awareness is functioning at that level. So now, the endocrine gland associated with this is the pancreas. How many of you have diabetes? Okay. This is a common illness. Diabetes is very common among the population. And so what happens in diabetes is the pancreas doesn't function properly, and you either have to take oral medications or you have to take insulin injections. But that gland is associated with metabolism of carbohydrates. Simply, I'm going to use the word sugar. It's important. So then after that, you come to, now here I'm going to stop because I forgot to tell you people a very important personal detail. Or maybe at the end of I'm going to continue, and at the end, remind me to talk to you about the human aura. Please, it's very important. I just skipped that and kept going. So the Vedic scholars have divided the chakras into 3 groups. I told you about the first 3 chakras. Though they are the lower chakras. They are the chakras that represent the energy of matter. This, the 4th chakra, is the transformative chakra. It represents the overlap, or you can call the transformation of the energy of matter into spirit. So this is a very important knot, the mystics call it. It's the Vishnu knot that is present. You have to pierce it for the awareness to go up, so that you will come into the higher states of unconditional love and bliss. So the heart chakra, what does it represent? It represents love. It represents empathy, compassion. It represents kindness, forgiveness, transformation. So what is the gland associated with this? The gland associated with this is the thymus gland. The thymus gland is a very important gland because it controls our immune system. The immune system affects every part of the human body, from the hair to the toenails. And if your immune system is not working, you will have all kinds of diseases such as the collagen vascular diseases, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, kidney pathology, thyroid pathology. I can go on and on and on. So the immune system is so important. So the element for this chakra is air, and the sense is touch. So you will notice that as I'm going up the chakras, the elements are getting subtler. That's how they were created, this human being. With these 5 elements which we call the Pancha Mahabhutas. So now going up from the 4th chakra, we are coming into the 5th chakra. The 5th chakra is located here at the base of the neck, in the front of the neck. The 5th chakra translates to the term Visuddha, which means pure. So what does this chakra represent? It represents speech, expression, communication, the ability to talk so that people listen, the ability to inspire, the ability to take abstract thought and make it into something that you can talk and make the ordinary person understand. So that is a very, very important chakra to be functioning. That chakra functions beautifully well in singers, especially those who are doing vocal classical music. That chakra, by just singing, it gets activated. That is the beauty about music. It activates the 5th chakra. You really don't have to do it very consciously. You just sing, and there it's activated. It's so beautiful. So what's the lesson for me, for you, all of you today? Please go learn music and start singing. You know, singing really is so beautiful for you. It's good for your soul. So the gland associated with this is the thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland is associated with a lot of other functions of the human body. It's associated with your skin, with the texture of your hair. It's associated with your moods. It's associated with digestion, with your beauty, with your weight gain. All these are associated with the thyroid gland. So what happens, in the olden days, I don't know, I mean, this question I can't answer. I do not know if all the salt in America is iodized, but this much I know that the Morton salt is iodized. So those of you who purchase the Morton salt have the iodized salt. Do you know why the salt is iodized? Because we had so much of hypothyroidism going on in the world, especially among the women. In India, we have so much of hypothyroidism because our salt is not iodized. Simple little thing they can do, but they don't do it. And we have patients. And the most common symptom of hypothyroidism is depression. When a postmenopausal patient, female, comes to see you and she tells you, "Doctor, I'm tired, I don't feel well, I don't have pleasure in the ordinary things of life," know that you first check her thyroid gland, because that would be the thing that would be her problem. Okay? That is a lesson I learned, because I really did miss a couple of lesions. And then I learned this from my master when I had gone back to India. And he said, "This is so common, Rajshree, you have to remember it even in America, it will happen." So, now you come to the sixth gland, which is the Ajna chakra. The Ajna, okay. The color is violet, and the spot is where I put my bindi, right here, midpoint between the two eyebrows. So when the patients ask us, "Geez, doctor, why do you put the bindi on your forehead?" or they ask any one of the Indian girls who have the bindi on, really, they don't have the answer to it. They don't know why we put the bindi on our forehead. They think it's a part of makeup, it's decoration, we have to put colors to match our outfits. No. when we put the bindi, this was given by our ancient Vedic rishis, we put the bindi to subconsciously want Deva to open that chakra. And when you put pressure there, it does start rotating at least. I'm not telling you it opens, but at least you are praying to God, "Please open it, please open it." If you know the right reason why you're putting the bindi. You know, we are told that because it's a part of the Hindu culture. No, it is. It represents part of the Hindu culture, but it is, why did the Vedic rishis want us to do that? They wanted us to do it so that every time we press there, you're pressing the third eye, and you're asking for Deva to please, please open it. So they say if your third eye is opened, your whole body is filled with light. Okay? And so, what does this wonderful chakra represent? It represents intuition. What is intuition? Intuition is a knowing, you just know. You cannot contradict, you just know. And it'll never contradict logic. You just know that something has to be done. And people will sort of argue with you because they'll think that you're doing something which is not correct, but your intuition tells you that you have to do it and you will be right. So let me give you an example of what happened to me. When I was in Folsom, it was a Friday afternoon, and I was going home. You know, I leave at about 4 o'clock. And suddenly there was an inmate, he came running up the third flight of steps, and he said, "Is Dr. Gaitonde there?" So they said, "No, Dr. Gaitonde is not on call. She's going home. There's another doctor who's going to take." He said, "No, I just want her." So they said, "Well, this is not private practice. You cannot say you just want her." You know? So I heard this inmate shouting and saying, "I only want my lady doctor." So I came out and I said, okay, I knew him. And I said, "What do you want me to do for you, sir?" He says, "Yes, I came climbing up the 3 flights of stairs, but there's something very wrong with me, doctor." And I looked at him, and he did not look sick to me. He came running up those flights of stairs, and I said, "But what is wrong with you, sir? You say that something is wrong." He said, "It's my stomach, doctor, my stomach." So now I put him on the examining table to examine him. His stomach looks like a railroad track, full of scars on his stomach. So I look at him and say, okay, I shouldn't even ask him what is the cause of those scars because they will say the knife jumped up and hit them. They expect me to believe all that also. So I said, I just asked them, were you involved in stabbing or did you have lots of surgeries? He said, doctor, don't ask me about it, but I can tell you I've had a lot of surgeries taken care of. So I did a whole lot of x-rays because now I started getting worried. I knew this fellow. I knew the patient. He's not going to pull something on me unless he really hurt. And then I did every test in the book. I could find nothing wrong. But my intuition told me there's something very wrong. All right? So then I tell him, sir, I'm going to admit you to the infirmary. Then he says, but you're not going to be there. And I said, yes, sadly, I'm not going to be there because I'm going to Monterey. I was going for a conference. Otherwise, if he had this kind of trust in me, I would have gone on a Saturday and looked at him. I did that for most of my patients. But this particular weekend, I was out of town, so I couldn't do it. So I told him, you really have to go. I've done all the orders for you. They really have to follow my orders, and it'll be okay. And in fact, I told him, I will pray that it'll be okay. And so I think he was not very happy, I might add, because he was not getting me to take care of him. So anyway, he was admitted. The next thing I got is I got a call from the doctor who was on call. And he said, are you stupid, Dr. Gaitonde? What the devil are you admitting this fellow? There's nothing the matter with him. His x-rays look okay, the urine is okay, the CBC is okay, God knows every other test that I did is okay. So I looked at him and I said, no, the patient is going to get admitted. I said, did you look at the admitting orders? There's something wrong with him. And I gave him the diagnosis. And I said, you're going to admit the patient? He said, no, I'm not. So I said, don't worry, I'm going to call the director and make certain you admit the patient. So what happened is, I called the director. Now, the director knows when Rajshree calls, there's something very serious happening. That's why she's calling. Because I'm not somebody who will ignore my patients. My patients come first. So I called him and I said, I'm having a lot of flack from this doctor. I want this patient admitted, and he said to me, why? And I gave him the rundown and I gave him my differential diagnosis. And I said, you know what? You're going to feel miserable if something happens to this patient while I'm gone. And I said, it's on you if you don't admit the patient. And he doesn't like me saying that to him. He doesn't. But I had to because, I was not going to be there. So guess what? The director called the doctor on call and said, admit the patient. And what did the doctor do? The physician didn't follow my orders. Did not do the CBC and everything what I had ordered every 2 hours. Did not do the x-rays as I had ordered every 2 hours. And so maybe sometime in the morning or maybe later, I don't know, I don't remember the exact time when it happened, the nurse walked into the infirmary, the patient was dead. Okay? Now, you know how the inmates are. We have 12,000 of them, just like that, the grapevine. They will tell what is happening. So I had gone. So I was gone. I didn't hear anything. My phones didn't ring. So when I came back from work and entered the gates of Folsom, the guards told me, geez, Dr. Gaitonde, do you know what happened? That patient died. They said that to me. So I stood there and I was in absolute shock. So I went straight to my chief medical officer and I went to the director and I said, how could that have happened? I stood there in front of the inmates because now we have the inmates all over and I'm standing there and I'm shouting at the director, how could that have happened? He's my patient. And I started crying like a child. So here you have inmates looking at a lady doctor all dressed up there, crying like a baby for one of them. They've never seen a doctor cry for them, or anybody cry for them, to be honest, for that matter. So it really touched them, because for the first time someone is standing up for them and crying and saying, how dare you do this to my patient? I didn't say to my inmate, to my patient. That's what I said. And I said, what went wrong? And he said, the doctor didn't follow your orders. And then I said to him, you know what? You need to investigate that doctor, but investigate me also if I made a mistake. Because if I did not order something that I should have ordered, I need to be investigated. You need to tell me what mistake I did. because I cannot live with this. I won't have sleep in the night now. I'll be seeing him every day in the night if I made a mistake. But guess what? They did the investigation, and that physician lost his license, and that was the end of it, because that was the way it had to go. And as far as I'm concerned, this person came and said to me, do you think you want to come work with me? And I said, no, thank you, sir. I'm very happy and wholesome. I'm going to work here. But I had not done anything wrong, by God's grace. But I never forgot that. So the director called me and he said, why were you so certain that you had to admit this patient? Was there an angel sitting on your shoulder? This is what he asked me. And I said, no, there was no angel sitting on my shoulder, but my Deva within was telling me to admit, to admit, to admit. I knew there was something wrong, but my differential diagnosis was absolutely correct. That was the right diagnosis. I'd given a differential diagnosis. And he said, but even I could not have found that. So I said, just because I found it doesn't mean that everybody should know it. I said, this is not knowledge. This is not science. This is intuition, and I cannot tell you how I know that. I just feel it, and it helps me in so many cases. And so that is intuition has helped me in many, many times taking care of my patients. Taking care of my husband, for crying out loud. You know, he had chest pains. And he went to all his doctors, and they said, Mr. Gaitonde, you're the perfect example of health. Nothing is wrong with you. It may be gas. Go home. You're living with the doctor 24/7. That's what they told him. So she'll take care of you. Guess what? One day when I was having a call and I was admitting a patient with an acute heart attack, he said, when you come back, I want to talk to you. I said, yeah, what is wrong? He said, what that patient had that you were talking on the phone, I have it. I was so terrible. I said, are you telling me you're having pain going like this? And he said, yes. And I said, why the devil didn't you tell me? Why are you waiting? What are you waiting for, an auspicious time to tell me? And he said, see, I don't like this reaction of yours. That's why. That's my husband for you. So guess what? I happen to have a friend who is a cardiologist, brilliant. And I called him and I said, you have to see him tomorrow. He's got a heart problem. He said, Rajshree, you're going to give me chest pains before the patient comes. But anyway, the end result is he had bypass surgery within 48 hours. I was so correct. I knew there was something so wrong with him. So intuition helps me a lot. Sometimes it's scary when it tells me things that the world doesn't believe. But that's intuition for you. So the other thing, talk about intuition is we just have a baby boy, my grandson, and I just knew that it's going to be a baby boy, when my daughter-in-law was pregnant. And so my son and my daughter-in-law kept saying, Mommy, she's going to be like this and she's going to be like that. And I said, Rajdeep, it's not going to be a she, it's going to be a he. Don't tell me it's going to be a she, because I know, I got the message from my guru, it's a boy. And they said, no, Mom, the heart rate is, and that. My son is a cardiac surgeon, by the way. So he thinks, he knows a lot more than Mom. So he said, no, the fetal heart rate is 150, this, that. I said, Cookie, don't tell me anything. Just get an ultrasound and you will tell me it's a boy. And he said, oh, okay. He didn't argue with me. Guess what? They did the ultrasound, that's a boy. And that's the sweetest little boy that I have seen. Of course, I'm partial. I'm his grandma, so. So now the last chakra is the 7th chakra, which is that's the Sahasrara chakra. The Sahasrara chakra means the 1,000-petaled lotus. That chakra represents unity, self-actualization, self-realization, enlightenment. And what is a gland on that chakra? The gland is the pineal gland. The pineal gland produces a magical hormone called as melatonin. But you cannot take external melatonin and tell me, doctor, I'm going to get self-realization. No. No. You have to meditate. You have to sing. You have to do something to reach that still point within. And when you reach that still point within, yes, the hormone will start coming. And you will feel that transcendental state. You know, when I was a fellow in radiology, I never knew how to read the x-rays of the skull. I mean, first, just walking in, you know, so many bones, and I didn't know how to read. But one thing, I would look at all the skulls, and I'd find this one big calcified spot in the here on the side. So I'd ask my professor, what is that, sir? And he'd look at me and say, Rajshree, what do you think that is? Of course, I'm just a new, finished med school, and I'm coming, and I said, I don't know, sir, what that is. So he said, Rajshree, remember, that's the calcified pineal gland. 90% of the human population, that gland is calcified. So what does that tell you all? That we don't ever use that gland. We are not on the path to opening it or using it, and what you don't use, you lose, and it gets calcified. So that is the calcified gland. So now, we are coming to Maslow's hierarchy. First chakra, I exist. The second chakra, I create. The third chakra, I expand. I use my willpower. The fourth chakra, now you're getting to the spirit, I love. I love. I speak the truth. The fifth chakra, I can communicate the truth. The sixth chakra, I know. Don't ask me how I know, but I know. And the seventh chakra, I am that, or aham brahmasmi, or that I am. I mean, most of the time they're not going to say to you that I'm a self-realized master. Most self-realized masters will never tell that. But I'm just saying, that's the peak of human existence. So now, let's see. 5 minutes. Can I go 5 minutes over? I have to say something to them. Okay. Is that? I can have 5. Okay. Okay. So what I want to tell you is the human aura. My God, that's very important. So one day I was in Folsom Prison, and I was really in the old prison, and I got a call from the warden, and he said, now you have to come to the new prison. The new prison is not called Folsom. It's known as California State Prison, Sacramento. And then he said, you have to go to B facility. That is really a hellhole. So now I go to the warden and I tell him, gee, sir, I thought you liked me, and you're sending me to that place. And he says, geez, Dr. Gaitonde, they stab each other every day. We need for you to go and calm them down. And I said, okay, I had to accept the challenge, and I went. So now they don't even wait for me to come. They've already started stabbing each other. Now I used to go there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the ambulances will be coming, and sometimes they'll pick me up from the car and take me into the prison. So it was like a movie story what used to happen for me there. So one day when I was there, I mean, I had my favorite nurse, Valdez. I had good staff working with me, the door officer, the custody, they were all good. So we heard a loud noise outside in the yard, and she went outside running to see what has happened, and she came running back to me, and she said, Dr. G, there is a gurney coming, and guess what? She gave me the name of an inmate. And I said, should I be worried? And she said, yes, you should be worried because you're going to get a major lawsuit. This is what she said to me. And I said, why? Why am I going to be sued? She said, first and foremost, he's very sick. And the second thing is, he sues everybody in corrections. So I said, okay, let him come. We took him in, and I can tell you the reason why I remember this case is I have never, other than this one case, seen a myocardial infarction happening when I am examining the patient. We had the EKG done, and I could see the ST segments like how they teach us in medical school. And you know what? Talk about fear when you look at that and there's a patient lying in front of you. And I'm thinking, Deva, please help me to keep him alive, because I don't want him dying on me. She told me he's going to sue me. I have to keep him alive. I have to do my best on this person. We did everything, and we sent him. And the thing is, while I finished doing everything what I had to do, and I looked at this man's face for the first time, because I was so busy doing what I was doing. When I looked at his face, I saw sheer panic on his face. See, that's the sign of a real acute MI. When the patient comes wandering and I says, Doc, my chest is paining, that's no MI. When the person is having a real heart attack, they are terrified. It is anxious. So I just looked at his face and I knew he was panicky. And you know what the reaction that was provoked from within? I felt this absolute unconditional love towards him. I don't know how to describe this, but I said, oh my God, he's so scared and I have to do something to make it better. And the feeling, there was no thought. It was just this absolute unconditional compassion towards him. So I just put my hand on his chest and I said, don't worry, we'll take care of you. I'm going to pray to Deva that we are going to take care of you. He then said, thank you. And then we sent him. So after he left, I was also really a little bit shaken up with this MI happening in my presence, that I just stood there and I prayed like I've never prayed before to God. And I said, God, nothing can happen to this man. I cannot see that fear on his face. It's so horrific, God. Please save him. Please help him and let him get better. Okay, that was it. And I walked, and it was time for me to leave now. So I go into my office and I close the door and I tell my nurse, Valdez, I said, just leave me alone because I need a few minutes to settle down. So I put my hand like this. No, I'm in a small office, not very big, all white walls, and I'm putting my hand like this. And I'm still praying, actually, because I'm trying to calm myself down. And suddenly I see a green light around this hand. I'm holding it like this, and I'm seeing the light around. Green, brilliant green, emerald green around my hand. And then I think, oh my God, what am I seeing? And then I see the light around my dress, my coat, the chair, and I see the light encompassing the entire room. The room is filled with a brilliant green light, and I'm thinking, this Valdez has changed the light to a green light. That's why I'm seeing green here. So I opened the door, and I said, Valdez, come here. When did you change the bulb? And she said, geez, Dr. G, I never changed the bulb. And I said, Valdez, what color is the light inside? And she said, it's white. I said, don't you see green everywhere? I think she must have thought I flipped because, because I was seeing green everywhere. And then she said to me, Doc, you're very tired, go home. So I did come home. Now, a part of me is a physician, and so I said, better get the other doctors to check me up to make certain there's nothing else going on with my eyes. I'm seeing green or I'm seeing color around people. So they checked me up and they said, Rajshree, there's nothing wrong. But I didn't tell them that I was seeing anything green or seeing anything. The next day I get up and I wash my teeth and I can see the blue light around my head, while I'm brushing my teeth. It's so, can you hear me? Did I touch it? I'm okay. All right. So I didn't say anything to my husband. I didn't say anything to my patients or I just went home. Luckily for me, within a month I went to India. So I went to India, and there we meet. I have a wonderful self-realized master who's no longer there. So sad, but he was there. So I told my husband, I need to go see him alone. So he said, why? I said, sure, please give me that little bit privacy. I want to be alone with him. So I walked into the ashram, and he came outside to receive me. He almost knew I was coming there. And he looked at me, and he started laughing, and he said to me, Rajshree, you are seeing the human aura. Why are you so terrified? And I said, but Swamiji, what happened to me? Why am I seeing the aura? And he said, don't ask all those questions. You're seeing it. It's nothing big. You don't have to make a big deal about it. If it helps you in patients, in diagnosis or anything, it's fine. And if it doesn't, then that's fine also. So he didn't make a big deal out of it. So now, at least I knew that was something that was happening to me, which I don't have to worry about. So then I come back and come to America and then go to the dentist because I have a routine dental appointment. The dentist brings a novel to me, brings a journal to me. My dentist is very spiritual also, and she says, Rajshree, I think you need to read this article. And she opens the page and it says, do you see the human aura? That's the article she's asking me to read. And this is from the Journal of Noetic Sciences, which is a very top-notch scientific journal. And when I read the article, it tells me that you will see the human aura once the sensors are activated within our retina. And what are the sensors? They are the cones. We have the rods and cones in our retina. And for some reason, they get activated. And when they are activated, just like our ancient rishis loudly proclaimed, Every human being can see the aura with the eyes wide open because all of us are equipped with those electromagnetic sensors to detect these radiations. And some of us can and some of us can't, and if it helps you, so be it. So, I mean, I don't pay much attention to it, but there are certain times when it helps me. And so, I'm just sharing something which was scary first, but now it's not. It's okay. So now finally, I have 5 minutes, and I have to tell you about this baby that has taken forever to be born for me. This is my book. And my book is as a result of all the requests from all people like you, for all the audiences, all my patients. They wanted my story. They wanted a memoir, and they wanted me to document it. Now, I can only document so much. I cannot write too much because this is out for the public. And so I was a little, I have to tell you that writing a book is really not totally out of my comfort zone. I'm a private person. I don't really share a whole lot of my family or too much with anybody. I'm very quiet. I like to keep it personal because I come from a family that was always under the public eye when we were in India. Like, you know, when I got into medical school, there'll be a big newspaper article saying, did Rajshree get into medical school because she was bright or because she's Raja's daughter? I mean, like that. I'm giving you an example. So, you know, that sort of affects you to some extent. And so maybe I became a little bit more private, and I would not share a whole lot with anybody because, you know, I didn't want them to go and tell some newspapers or stuff like that about me. And then I came to the Department of Corrections, which really functioned very well for me because there you cannot talk about your family, your children, your husband, nothing. It's very, very private. So for me, it was very easy to function there because I didn't have to say anything to anybody. And so writing this book, there are some things that I do share about the family, but I think to myself that one little baby boy changed the fear that was there in my mind. I saw him last year, and he's so tiny and he's so little, and I looked at him and I said, oh my God, you little boy, you may not get to know your grandma, but I want you to know everything that I've done. So how will you know that? Because your mom doesn't know, maybe even dad doesn't remember. So I have to write a book. So I wrote a book, and really, it is really to leave it as a legacy for this little child. And also, I would hope that the book is inspirational and motivational, and I would like it to tell everyone, particularly little girls, that you can do whatever you put your mind to. People told me I wouldn't last in Folsom for 24 minutes. I lasted for a whole career in corrections. And I think that that is a remarkable story. There are so many little instances that have happened. I want these young girls to know that anything is possible. There's no word as impossible in your dictionary. So my editor is right here, and I'm not going to point out because in case she is shy, but I'm saying that I hope and I pray the Lord, and I want all of you to pray that this book comes out in December, and that in January, we are going to have the book launch on January 20th, which is a Saturday afternoon from 2:30 to 5:30. And I really want every one of you to come. I don't have your names or your email addresses, but I hope there is a sheet that's going around giving me that, so that each one of you, my personal assistant Pavitra, will make certain that you get the invitation. Because the next time I come to see you people will be after the book launch. So I want you people to know that I personally want every one of you to come there. I really need the support. I need you. I need you. I truly need you. So do come. And thank you so much for giving me a chance to stand here and talk to you people. I appreciate that so very, very much.
And thank you for coming to us again, and we look forward to seeing you